Hello chess friends and welcome to your out of chess channel and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I wanted to show you a brilliant game that was played in 2015 between the two legends of the sport, between Wesley So and Liren. So it's a really incredible game and it was suggested to me by one of my viewers. I want him to thank him also through this video because I really didn't know about this game. I've never saw it before. It's really sort of a game that you just say wow, because you've witnessed here really some beautiful tactical shots like the decoys, deflections, double attacks, immortal queen sacrifice. So as I said, it was really a brilliant game, and of course I wanted to share it with you here in my YouTube chess channel. The cool part also about this game is that the King's Indian was on the board, and both of these players, Wesley So and Liren, are really masters of the King's Indian. In their early careers they have played this opening many times, so they know their stuff in this opening. So that's why it's very incredible how the game exploded in one particular moment. So let's check out now this tactical beauty between two legends, as I said, Wesley So versus Liren. So here Wesley opened with the move d4. Ding's response was knight to f6, c4. We have g6, knight to c3, and after bishop to g7 we have reached now the normal King's Indian position with the move e4 and d6. And okay, you can play many things here from White's perspective. Still, in my opinion, the classical system here with the move knight to f3 is perfectly fine. We have kingside castling, and after bishop to e2, e5, still common theory of course, and after castling we're waiting here from White's perspective this move knight to c6, and when that happens we get an extra tempo against the knight to e7, and here knight to e1 was played. So okay, this position has been reached millions and millions of times. First of all, let's understand the strategy. In this position we have now the block pawn structure in the center. I've talked about the block pawn structure many times in my video. So whenever this happens, when the pawns are immobile here in the center of the board, 2 versus 2 like this, then of course White has sort of a direction of the attack. White should make progress here on the queen side by playing b4 c5. On the other hand, Black is trying to get the normal King's Indian attack with the move f5, f4, g5, g4, h5, h4. So Black is hoping to let the position explode here on the king side, to open the position in front of the king, include now all of the pieces, because what we have to always say about the King's Indian is when Black's attack splashes, maybe if this Black's attack doesn't work on the king side, then probably Black will lose the game, because notice that many pieces of Black's are coordinated to the king side, and you could lose the battle on the queen side because you don't have any pieces there to defend yourself. So as I said, if this attack on the king side is not working, I think in many occasions Black is losing the game strategically and tactically. So as I said, you have to be careful what you choose when you play some openings. In this particular scenario, Liren played simply the King's Indian in all hope now to get something out of his attack. So here, knight to e1, I wanted to explain you also this very important move. Many times you will see White delaying the move knight to d3, because when we have this block pawn structure like this, as I said, we have this collision here in the center, and no one can move pawns in the center. Then you want to be faster on your attack. So what you want to prepare this move c5 here much faster than your opponent is preparing maybe the move f5. So you understand now that's why the next couple more moves here played by Wesley. So we have knight to e1, you see knight to d7. Knight to d7 is a further protection of the c5 square, but also preparation of course to be faster here with the move f5. So here bishop to e3, also preparing c5, and now after move f5 we have f3. We have f4, bishop to f2. So you see Liren has already created some madness here, and it's hoping now to launch a further attack with g5, g4, h5, h4. So we have now g5 immediately by Liren. Now very interesting choice here by Wesley So. Rook to c1 is maybe not the most often played line. Knight to d3 is also here possible to further attack the c5 square, but rook to c1 is an interesting tactical and much sharper idea. We want to play c5 immediately here without even playing the move b4 and similar stuff. We want to be, as I said, much faster. We want to play aggressively here around the square c5. So here in the continuation we have knight to g6, and now comes this idea c5. So if you take with the pawn d takes c5, this wouldn't be good. Then with knight to d3 you have too many structural weaknesses here. We can also attack further the position. We can play something like knight to b5. We can even in some occasions play the move b4 after c takes b4. Now knight to b5 is also very interesting here. You will lose the battle probably around the square c7. So that's what I mean. You want to be just faster even if you have to sacrifice some material. But I think now that we can agree that now white is attacking and black is in defending this position, and that's exactly what you want to get out of this position. So you don't want to be on the defensive side, because if you just make one passive move, black will go here h5 h4 and probably will destroy you here somewhere in front of the king. So after move c5, still the main line is knight to c5, and now comes the very interesting idea b4. So you probably saw this position many times, sacrificing a pawn just in order to open the c file. So here you have only one good choice. Knight to d7 is losing, I think, immediately here for black, because you have here knight to b5 and you cannot defend anymore your c7. Probably also then after knight to c7, here the knight will come to e6. Even if you try some ideas of, I don't know, knight to b6, you can even take out with the rook here, because a6 is not an opportunity. You see, the knight would be hanging on here b6. Even if you try, then you get probably some tactics like this. But I wanted to show you, as I said, that there's so many beautiful things that can happen in these types of structures, in these types of positions. So many beautiful tactical shots. So here in the continuation, after move c5, we have knight to c5, as I said before, and you have to play now knight to a6. So here knight to d3, immediately attacking here further the position, controlling further the c5, and also very important fact that we are controlling the b4. Now in some occasions we can play much freely with our other pieces. So here h5, so Ding is launching his attack further. We have here knight to b5, attacking further the c2, and now c7 part move, and with queen to c2, maybe this could be now our clear target. So that's why here Ding plays first of all this move b6, because also the pawn on a7 was weak, so that's why you have to protect it with b6. But now notice when you make that happen, you have now faced many structural weaknesses here on light square. So this is something that black is hoping, white is hoping for, to get this weaknesses in the position, and also to play very actively on the queen side. And I think still this is playable also for black. Black needs to be accurate here, because black is already here. But as I said, I think also this position that white feels comfortable, because we're also on the attacking side and we can make something out of this position. So after move b6, we have bishop to e1. Very interesting idea here by Wesley. So I really like this move. It's one of the moves that I really like the most of all of these moves by Wesley So in this game, because he's liberating now the square f2, which is very important, because we can expect immediately, or maybe in a couple more moves, the move g4 here by black, and now the move knight to f2 is controlling further this g4 square. And then of course we could actually play much freely with our queen to b3, queen to a4, I don't know, queen to c2. We want finally to include the queen into the game, but so far it's not possible, because if you make this queen move too early, then g4 will happen, and as I said, you will probably lose the battle here. So that's why you have to be really careful. So here after move bishop to e1, we have rook to f7 here by Liren, which is also a very common move in King's Indian structures. First of all, this move is protecting the c7, but it's not only doing that. Many times black is maneuvering now the rook to the g file, where the rook is used also as a defensive piece around the square c7, but also as an attacking piece on the g file. So it's a really common maneuver of the King's Indian. I'm a big fan of the King's Indian myself, played it many times in my life. So I played also very often this rook lift on f7, and now Ding hopes that he can include, of course, the rook into the game. So here after move rook to f7, we have bishop to d2, bishop to f6, and now here knight to f2, controlling, of course, as we said, for the g4. Because for instance, if you try these ideas, maybe to include the queen, as I said, too early into the game with queen to b3, then you get smashed, you get probably destroyed here. With the move g4, you could launch your attack maybe further, but now look at this, g3, and here after bishop h3, you can always, I think in the King's Indian, sacrifice the bishop on h3, and that's why many times a common King's Indian player will say to you that his light square bishop in the King's Indian is his most important piece, because you can always sacrifice it like this, and then after something like g takes h3, queen to d7, even if you try to protect it, then knight to h4 will happen, and I think the game is lost here. So the engine says here it's checkmate in 6 moves. So as I said, this is simply immediately losing for white if you allow here to black for black to make progress here with the move g4. So that's why, as I said, black is hoping to make this sacrifice. So that's why the most important minor piece of blacks is of course the light square bishop. So let's go back. As I said, after move bishop to d2, here Ding played rook bishop to f6, hopes that he can finally get the rook on g7 and include the rook into the attack, because so far Wesley So is of course controlling the g4 square. You have here the protection with the pawn, and also the queen and bishop are protecting the further potential progress by black. So that's why black needs to make a maneuver, maybe play with the knight somewhere and then to play g4. So black needs to play at least 2-3 tempi just in order to attack the position further somehow. So after move bishop to f6, as we said, knight to f2, we have now queen to e8 and now queen to a4 here by Wesley. So this is a very important idea, because here after bishop to d8 we have now queen to a3, and now there are several tactical shots that are possible. For instance, even if you try something like, I don't know, knight to b8, this would not be possible because of this one, knight to d6, c takes d6, and then rook to c8 wins the game, I think, here strategically for white, because first of all we can notice that black gave up the light square bishop. We have seen that the light square bishop is really a beautiful piece when it comes to tactics, that there are many possible tactical shots around the square h3, and now when you lose this bishop, then probably you would lose also the game. So as I said in the beginning of the video, if black makes something out of the attack, then he has good winning chances. But now I think the attack has splashed, g4 is controlled, you will never be able to push the g4 move anymore, and now you see also the dark square bishop is simply paralyzed by its own pawn structure. So it's not a good position here for black. So as I said, you have to be careful. After move queen to a3, you cannot include now the knight into the game. You would love to do that, of course, to make some maneuvers, maybe include then here to f6, maybe then finally g4, but it's not possible. The knight is out of game. So here in the continuation we have now g4. Wesley got challenged here by Ding's move g4, but as we said, we have a beautiful control. That's why this maneuver bishop to d2, bishop to e1, bishop to d2, knight to f2 was really a beautiful maneuver by Wesley. So still g4 of course is breaking here the position, but now after f takes g4, h takes g4, we have now knight to c3, and now the knight is hanging. For instance, if you move the knight to b8, this is not good again because of bishop to g4, bishop to g4, knight to g4, and even if you try f3, everything is okay here for white, because you have also some threats of knight to h6. So you see, this is a perfect control of the g4 square, and black didn't gain anything out of the attack. So after move knight to c3, the knight is hanging here. Liren tried a different method. He tried the move f3, knight to b4, pardon me, and after queen to b4 he tried f3 to break the position somehow, to include now more attackers into the game. We have here bishop to b5, an attack against the queen. We have queen to e7, and now g3. Here at least what Wesley So has accomplished is now a static pawn structure. At least he has created the block. It's not so easy for black to attack the position further. And notice now that also the light square bishop, the monsters, the best piece in black's position, the light square bishop is simply blocked out now by its own pawn structure. So the bishop cannot be included maybe here on h3, on g2. So the bishop is basically now useless in the continuation of the attack. So after move g3, rook to h7, we have queen to c4, trying to sneak in with the queen, because we have to say white is up a piece. White needs now just to simplify the game and then go into an endgame, and this will be probably winning position for white. But still you have to defend first here your position around the square h2. So here rook to h8, here the Ding is preparing queen to h7 and queen to h2. We have queen to c6, and now after queen to h7, now h3. This is very important because If you take, of course, g takes h3, first of all, this rook is hanging, so far it's not possible, so that's why rook to b8 was first placed by Liren, and now knight to d1, with the idea is, of course, to play knight to e3, and then, of course, also knight to f5 is very, very interesting. So here a6 was played by Liren, and now comes, I think, the stunner of this game. So many of us, I think, would retreat with the bishop and hoped again to defend this position, but not Wesley So. He found really a beautiful tactical shot. He found really beautiful tactical sequence here, and if he would not have played this tactical sequence, probably the game would lead into equality, and that's something I think that you don't want to miss, because when you have a winning game, you want to, of course, make something out of it. You don't want to miss your tactics, and here Wesley didn't miss his tactics, because he played now queen to e8, and after here king to g7, he sacrificed now his queen for this bishop. Notice, of course, that we have taken already here from white's perspective a minor piece, so far Ding has lost 2 minor pieces for the compensation of the one queen, but here after move rook to d8, now comes, of course, rook to c7. The bishop was protecting the c7 weakness, and now after rook to c7, you have to cover yourself with the bishop, because of course the queen was hanging, and now after rook takes d7, rook takes d7, bishop to d7, we have now 3 minor pieces for the lost queen, and still it's a wild game. So as I said, beautiful tactical shots by Wesley So, but you have to prove your point here. So you have to still battle, you have to still struggle. After move g takes h3, now comes king to h2. So this is not an endangered king position anymore, because what we can notice now is that basically these 2 pawns are covering here the king. So basically white can always defend by hiding behind this enemy's king, in an enemy's pawns, pardon me, and that's beautiful. I think the defensive strategy in chess, whenever you have the opportunity, try to do that, because now notice the only piece maybe that could be included into the attack is somehow the knight, but you have to play somewhere maybe with the knight on g4 maybe to deliver one check, but still the bishop is controlling the square. So I'm not seeing good ways how black should attack white's king here. So the king is perfectly fine, although as I said, it's standing in front of his enemy's pawn. So here after move king to h2, we have rook to b7, bishop to e6, knight to f8, and now bishop to f5, attacking the queen, queen to h5, and now knight to g4. We have a knight to d7, and now bishop to h6, a beautiful check, of course, king to h8, and now knight to e3. So see how it is really easy now for Wesley to find the best next move. He can take out this pawn. Eventually he'll probably also take the h3 pawn, and then he can make maybe something out of this here pawn on the g file. Maybe he can also try to promote to queen. So here rook to c7, we have bishop takes d7, although probably the better move here is bishop to e6, staying with the minor pieces on the board. No need here to rush and trade off pieces, but still it's a better position here for white. After bishop to d7, rook to d7, rook takes f3, rook takes rook to f7, and now rook to f5. This was a beautiful way now for Wesley So to create another pass pawn. Here after rook to f5, we have e takes f5, and this pawn is rolling. This is now really almost an unstoppable position here for black. So after move e takes f5, we have queen to f7, bishop to g5. We have b5 here. Ding is trying to get something out of his attack on the queen side. He's trying to get something out of his 2 versus 1 pawn majority here. We have knight to h6, attacking the queen, queen to f8, and now f6, simply pushing the pawn further. King to h7, knight to f5, we have king to g6, and now bishop to h4, retreating with the bishop. e4, we have now f7. Now the queen is a little bit paralyzed, because there is now also the threat to play here something like bishop to e7, and then a promotion on f8. So that's why e3. Now comes this idea, bishop to e7, we have e2, we have knight to h4, first a check, we have here king to h7. This was really beautiful tactical shot, because if you take, then of course this comes with the promotion, and then we can also stop here the progress of this pawn with knight to f3. So interesting tactical shot here by Wesley So. Knight to h4, we have king to h7, and now bishop to f8. faked. We had here the promotion. Here Ding had another queen, but now after bishop to d6 and queen to f2, here after king to h3, this is pretty much forced, but the problem is now again you cannot take this annoying pawn. So we had here q into f1, and after queen to g4, queen to c4, and after bishop to f4, queen to e2. That was the only check that was possible. Here we had knight to f3, and in this position Ding Liren resigned. So you cannot make anything, even if you try something like king to g7. First you get a check, and even if you try king to f8, then you get another check, and then the promotion here on f8. So really beautiful game, amazing tactical stuff here by Wesley So and Ding Liren. I really love this game. As I said, it was suggested to me. I've never seen this game before. Amazing stuff, incredible tactics, immortal queen sacrifice just in order to create some madness, then to create this pass pawn that was very annoying. Interesting ideas of the king's in it, which is one of my favorite openings also from black perspective. So I will memorize this game for sure. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game like I did. If you want to see more brutal attacks like this, check out my commented chess games played by the best players in the world, my best chess games of all time series. Here's the link of our whole playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.